Everyone on 100k an hour. No overtaking under safety car. I did see Aiden go down a place, but it was only a split second. Everyone get ready as the safety car will be resuming back. Well, the pack will be back to racing speed. Aiden's coming into the pits. Cash is also coming into the pits once again, as now we see Zoidberg, who's restarting the race once again. Zoidberg in P1 with Rodri and Josh already 2 car wide almost between these two. These two have been battling for quite a lot of the race, as I almost had to blow up my lungs because these two battling. As Zoidberg is only 0.8 of a second ahead of Chris. So Chris is getting that slipstream, but Josh is getting a stronger slipstream, and Bonza is also getting quite a big slipstream from Josh as well, as we see Josh just about going onto the curb there, almost trying to make it 2 car wide between Rodri and Josh, as it's tight in between that white line between these two drivers, as Zoidberg is under all the pressure they can be, with all of the drivers behind him, but not right behind him, but it mightn't be 2 car wide, and it is 2 car wide, and Josh mightn't be trying to make a move. He's made a 2 car move for P1. Zoidberg in P2 now, but can Zoidberg try and regain P1 in the Mercedes, as that's a Nissan GTR in P1? The Japanese manufacturer has made a wonderful move, and that's Zoidberg making move down the order, not up the order, as he's into the wall with permanent damage on the front, which damages his intercooler and everything on the front, which will not help his car or his performance, as he's hit the wall once again, having a tiny bit of a tap from Mike. This is not the best race from Zoidberg we've ever seen, as we have seen him on the top step of the podium. But is it a battle for P1? No, it's not, but it is a battle for P2 between Bonza and Chris, as Chris is trying to keep Cyril behind as well, as it mightn't be 3 car wide. No, it's not 3 car wide, but that is Chris trying to force his way around the outside, and he made a wonderful move. But Bonza's side by side with Chris. Bonza makes a wonderful piece of defense there, keeping Chris right behind Josh. He's only 3/10 ahead, but there's 2 car wide on the final exit. Mightn't be 3 car wide, no it won't, but Midnight will try and make it 2 car wide once again. Bonza under pressure from Cyril, but Cyril is trying to gain as much time as possible. Bonza having a tiny bit of contact with Chris, leaving Chris in P2 on Bonza. Now in P5 with Midnight and P4. It just splits him and Cyril. Can Cyril try keep Midnight behind? What is this race? What a restart to the Bathurst GP for all of the Group 3 cars, as we now see the 458 trying to gain some time on Cyril, as Cyril uses the curve that is not ideal, as that's a time bit of contact between Chris and Josh here, leaving Cyril to almost be 2 car wide as well, as Midnight joins the battle, as it's currently 4, maybe even a 5 car battle. Chris in P1, Josh in P2 now, as that's Midnight sideways with Bonza right behind him, battling for P4 now, as it's currently a battle for P4, but Midnight is back to trying to gain some time on Cyril, and on P1 as well, as that's Chris, who's trying to defend on Josh as well. Josh in the Nissan GTR trying to chuck him off as much as possible, as he tried to make a move, leads a tiny bit of contact, and Josh has contact with Chris, and Chris is going down the order as well. It's the same corner Zoidberg crashed, and Zoidberg crashed once again on the same corner. This is really not ideal. As that is, I might have to give Josh a tiny penalty for that after that piece of contact. As it turns out, it's a 3-second penalty for Josh for causing a collision. Josh is back on Coop, almost crashing into the back of him. That's the first time Coop has been into the action for the top three here, as we now see Josh being forced off by Eugene, but Eugene makes a clean move down to P5 here, as we now see Arthur trying to apply the pressure onto Josh in P6. Where's Chris? Chris is P11 after the contact, as that's the first penalty I've had to give this whole race from having contact, and Aiden's got the fastest lap, but that is Bonza setting the fastest sector 1 so far of this race. Midnight in P2, and that's Cyril in P1. He's not seen P1 actually this race at all, but Josh is in P6 battling for P4 here, as we see there's a tiny bit of contact, and that's Coop into the wall. Eugene following behind with even more contact, and that's Josh in P5 now trying to chase for the American driver for P4. Can he try getting as much time as possible with no contact so he does not get another penalty, as that was unfortunate penalty for Josh, but he might try and make a move coming down Skyline chicane now. No, he won't, but there is contact once again, but there is no penalty because Coop did not hit the wall or have any damage from that crash, and he's not lost any time whatsoever, but it is almost 2 car wide, leaving Mike to try getting some time on Eugene as well. That's Coop crashing into the wall on the exit, leaving Eugene to almost be 2 car wide onto Conrad straight now. That's Mike into the slipstream lane. That's the WeatherTech Mercedes, a 97 Awesome also in the slipstream at Eugene, but there's a tiny bit of bump drafting from Mike and Coop here, leaving Coop in P5, but he might try and make a move for P4 with the late braking side by side. 2 car wide through the left and right hander. That's a Mazda up into the grass, but it's 2 car wide between Mike and Coop now. Now it's 2 car wide between Eugene and Coop, as that's Eugene coming into the pits on lap 18. As there is now 20 minutes left of this race, I think so. As it's 2 car wide between Coop and Arthur now, as that's Eugene into the pits. Was Eugene forced into the pits? No, he had engine damage. Don't know where he got that engine damage from, but he's into the pit. Might even be a retirement for Eugene here, as it's 2 car wide between Chris and Aiden here, the 2 Mercedes, well, no, 1 Porsche and 1 Mercedes, sorry, and Aiden's setting the fastest sector 1, trying to beat his personal best, even though he's got the fastest lap on lap 17. Of a 205.233 here, as it's quite a good battle up ahead as well, with Cash and Arthur battling with Orson just about appearing into the battle. It's a battle for P6 now between these 3. Who's in P1? Cyril's in P1 by 2 seconds now. Midnight in P2. Bonza P3, Josh in P4. It might even be a battle between these 2 once again, Bonza and Josh, as these 2 come onto Conrad Straight. As we see, Dropping is in the slipstream. Bonza got better traction on the exit, because it is quite a big traction zone on this racing track to gain quite a lot of time, and he is still gaining time on Josh. What a surprise that is, but Josh closes that all of that time Bonza gained from that traction zone in the exit he's got, and Josh is now P3 as Bonza comes into the pits, coming off the hard tyres. It's midnight. As that's now Arthur under pressure from Cash. Cash is really under pressure, trying to apply the pressure, as it's 2 car wide. Aiden right behind as well, getting the slipstream from Cash, As Cash in the Lexus might even try and make it 2 car wide through this corner. It's quite a bad corner to make it 2 car wide. Arthur has a tiny bit of contact, forcing Cash almost into the wall, and that's Mike into the wall as he's facing the wrong way on the track. That's not the best way on how to see cars coming past you. And he's spun around once again, facing the wall this time, not the wrong way on the circuit, but that's Chris trying to make a move on Coop, as Coop has barely any fuel left in his car, as will he even make it around this whole lap, as that's Cash making a move on Arthur, that's Aidan making a move on both of them, Cash and Arthur, as it's Midnight and Josh, these two battling for P2 now, as we see Midnight squirrely down the dip, and that's no contact, but that is Midnight sliding out of action for P2 and is 1.3 seconds behind. As it's now Awesome under pressure from Aidan. Aidan is the fastest driver. He's even got the fastest lap on lap 19 of a 2:04.570, but can Awesome even try gain that place back, as he wants that P4, as he came from last position, as Awesome once again has put in a phenomenal race for the WeatherTech Mercedes team, as we see the Lexus of Penetrite trying to gain some time on Awesome, as well, as Awesome's going down the grid, not what he wants to do at all. Coop into the pits with 6% of fuel left, as that's Mike also coming into the pits after he hit the wall twice, trying to spin himself back around, as we see the Porsche still in P1 by 8 seconds. Then that's Midnight scraping the wall once again on the exit, leaving Aidan right behind him under a second as well. Aidan's quite a scary driver to have behind you in the Apex Mercedes, as we see Midnight scraping the wall once again. As Midnight cannot find any traction in that Ferrari around any corner whatsoever, as it's just sliding around most corners on Bathurst so far, as we see Midnight just trying his best to battle his car, never mind battle other drivers on the track, but he is trying to do two things all at once: battle his car and battle Aidan as well, who's trying to get P3 away from him. He might even chuck it up on the inside. That's a brave move, but that's the Ferrari into the wall on the exit. Too much pressure to handle from Aidan, and Aidan is now in P3, hunting down these two ahead. But to be fair, Cyril should be safe, as there is 14 more minutes left of this race, as that's the Porsche now coming into the pits. For is that his second or third time? Not entirely sure. Josh is also following into the pits. Aidan is in P1 now. As let's see what the Porsche does. As we see the Porsche and Josh. Okay, so the Porsche beats Josh out the pits, obviously, but Josh is coming out the pits 9 seconds behind once again. So he's gained no time, he's not lost any time either. Bonza comes around the final corner and it's a time of a drag race, never mind, it's just Bonza getting past Midnight, with Zoidberg watching this as well. Coop in P10, Chris in P12, as his just came out the pits as well. Mike in P13 after his crash a few laps ago. Now Aidan in P1 by 2 seconds ahead of Cash, and Awesome, where's Zoidberg? He's in P9. Okay, so Awesome might even get a podium this race, which will be well deserved for Awesome, as that's Cash coming down the dip. Now Awesome's coming down the dip as well. Josh in P6 trying to gain some time on his rival, who is 9 seconds ahead of him, as we see Arthur, who is very much in the side of the number 66 Porsche of Skilly. So that's the Porsche catching up to the full carbon fibre Porsche. As we see Coop P5. He is trying to gain P5 as it. Wow, Chris is coming down fast on Conrad Straight, coming down the hill. Yeah, he's on racing soft. Oh, he's wide though, and he's off. And he's done a whole 360 for the crowd. That's a tiny bit of a show off. And that's Josh doing the exact same, but he's done a 720 instead, costing him P6 and costing him places in this race that would have done excellent for his championship, and he's lost out so many points just from that tiny incident. Wow, Josh has lost out so many points there, as he went from P6 down to P9, and that's a person sliding his car, and that's Zoidberg. Oh, that's Josh. Now I'm like even having a battle with Zoidberg, as it's the Nissan GTRV Mercedes. That's Zoidberg almost scraping the barrier here, leaving Josh to almost be two-car wide, but he's trying to gain as much time as possible, but his tyres will be a tiny bit dirty and probably overheated after doing that 720 on the grass, which is unhelpful for his tyres as well, as he's only came out pits 1 lap ago, but his tyres are already having some tyre wear on due to that double 360, as Zoidberg a tiny bit squiggly on the dip here, as everyone catches a tiny bit of air time coming down the dip as well. It's only a tiny bit, but it is enough to shut some drivers off, as that's Rodri almost hitting the wall. As it's a yellow flag. What's it, the yellow flag? Oh, and there's almost contact between Eugene and Chris. And what a dive bomb from Chris that is. He's got no damage. Also, he's got better tyres than you, so. I mean, he hasn't done it. He doesn't need that. As there is 8 more minutes left of this race, as Aiden is in P1 by 8 seconds, so he might potentially win this race. Actually, he might not win this race. His tyres are horrible. As the race is soft. Don't think so. Awesome, have you done your mandatory 2 stop? But as Zoidberg is not gaining any time as he's sideways, coming down the dip as well. Cash, he is P5. Oh, is that why there was a yellow flag? Oh, Aiden's into the pits. And that might even leave Arthur into P1. And Awesome might even have a chance for P1 here, as he went from last. As I was speaking about Awesome earlier, he might go from last to P1 with Cyril watching the battle as well for P1 in the moment in time, as that's the pit crew dropping Aiden from the jacks on the Mercedes and now just refueling his Mercedes, leaving Josh to be in P8, but it might be a drag race. That's cow. A tiny bit of defending from Aiden out the pits, or it might not even be defending, but he's too wide between Aiden and Midnight. Let's go broadcast view with Cash and Midnight going too wide into the left, into the right-hander as well. That motion leaves a car into the barrier, but it's not, as they are too wide. So let's leave this battle as it's a 3-car battle for P5. What a battle, and Cash is in P5, Midnight P6, and Aiden, who just came out of the pits on fresh racing mediums, in P7. He just needs to get the temperature into those mediums and he'll be right in this battle, as I think he has, as he is gaining quite a lot of time on Midnight, as it mightn't be too wide into Skyline here, and it almost is too wide as Midnight thinks about the move around the outside, as he has seen his rival Cash pull it off in the past. At the start of the race, as that's Aiden all over the back of Midnight, and that's Josh also joining the battle on the racing softs as well, but he has got damage on the front with no front splitter, barely any bumper on the car as well, as a front left corner of his bumper is missing, which will not help his aerodynamics at all. But it is too wide, and that's Midnight going past Cash, but Cash is now in the slipstream with Aiden right behind him as well. There might be a time bit of contact. No, it won't. It'll be Aiden making a wonderful move around the outside. Zoidberg also joins the battle as well. How many cars do we need in this battle? But Josh might even try and make an overtake on Cash around the outside into the final corner. It is too wide. Josh almost breaking on the grass, but he's Cash in P7 still, as there is only 4 more minutes of this race. Cash is under all the pressure there is, and Josh is trying to chuck it up on the inside with Zoidberg trying to make a move on Josh as well, and Cash has it too wide between Zoidberg and Josh, but Josh cannot make an overtake, but Zoidberg is trying his hardest, as I'm losing my voice commentating these battles, as we've just heard me voice crack, but that's Josh making a move as well, as Josh is forcing his way around the outside. Can he try and make a move? But the P8 here is trying his hardest. Josh is in P8 and Cash in P9 now, as Josh might even get those few points that might be able to just count. As a few laps ago he spun out, did a 720, but he is gaining those points up once again as he's back in P8. Oh, those voice cracks were horrible as well. It is a battle for P1 between Cyril and Arthur as well, as there is only 3 more minutes left of this race. Arthur is in P1. What can Cyril do on to the main straight? It's the 2 Porsches. Is there contacts? Yes, it is, and it's Zoidberg back into the wall, and he's got rear damage with no downforce on his car anymore, as his spoiler's broken, but he's too wide between Cyril and Arthur, and Cyril makes a move around the outside, coming off Conrad Straight. What a move from Cyril, as it's also a battle between Aiden and Midnight, and it's too wide between them. There's contact, and there's Midnight going off the track, and that's Midnight being forced off the track by Aiden. There was contact, and that is Aiden forcing a driver off the track after a tiny bit of contact, but I feel like it was a racing incident after Aiden might have broke onto the grass. I'll have to watch that replay after the race, after after that contact. It is the final lap. Aiden is under investigation. He'll have to speak to the FIA after the race. So Aiden, after this race, do not leave the party because you are definitely under investigation. As Josh is now in P6, Aiden in P5, Bonza P4, battling for P3 here though, as Awesome might even not have a chance for P3 as a Bonza makes a move around the outside, scraping the wall though, as there might be yellow flag due to a car having no fuel whatsoever. There might even be 2 cars with no fuel whatsoever. Might even be 3 cars, and Josh will make it this lap, but maybe not Coop, as that rotary engine is screaming away. As that's Mike pitting on the final lap now. There's 1 more minute left of racing. What can these lot do? As that's Cyril guaranteed P1 now, basically, as he's flashing his lights for victory in the Fire Rectory Porsche. As he's sending it down Conrad Straight, he's setting his personal best. Eugene's got the fastest lap. As Zoidberg is back into the wall once again. But Chris might even be having a tiny battle for P6 here on the final part, and that's Cyril P1, Arthur P2, Bonza P3, Awesome, maybe even P4 with Aiden side by side, making move around the outside. Aiden in P4 and Awesome in P5 with Josh, maybe in P6, and he is P6. Chris in P7, Coop in P8, Midnight might even be making move for P8 as it's the final part of this race. It's 1/10 of a second between Coop and Midnight here, as that's Cash watching these 2 battle, as well as that's Cash in P10, Eugene in P11, Zoidberg in P12, and Mike in P13.